Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla. For today's video, we are looking at another subscriber submission. So she sent me her financial situation. If you are interested in me making a video similar to this for your financial situation, please feel free to email me. My email is in the description box, and I also list a few things that would be helpful for you to contain in your email so that I can provide you with the best response. But otherwise, if you're looking to take things a little bit further, I do offer one-on-one sessions. I can help you to make a plan, to budget, to save, get out of debt, and I have that linked down below as well. This will be anonymous. I will be saying she because I know that this is a woman. I do like these videos to have contributions from y'all because oftentimes y'all share something with me that I actually don't know or a different opinion on something that I shared. So I do find that really helpful, but just keep in mind that this is somebody who does watch my channel and will be watching this video. So please, no nasty comments. I will delete them. If it's something that is helpful, then absolutely leave that down below. But please remember that this is still a real human being behind all of these words. So thank you so much to this person for submitting and sharing your financial situation, and I will read it to you now. She did send me a spreadsheet with her current debts and her July budget, so I will pop those up on the screen when I need to. But she said, I am a salaried employee and am paid semi-monthly on the 1st and 15th of each month. I am 26, single, with no children, and live alone. I dug myself in a pretty bad hole, and while I have made some strides when it comes to shopping, my biggest hurdle is spending money eating out. Last month, I spent over $1,400 between takeout and groceries. I was disgusted when I saw that. I am so glad, first of all, that you are tracking and are seeing that you spending on food is a problem. For many people that I've worked with, food is a problem. I have worked with clients that spend, $700 plus on food delivery and takeout in general, which I completely understand because it's just so accessible these days. Like, you can literally do anything from your phone. You don't even have to get up when they get to your door. You can go and get it later. I am glad that you recognize it as a problem, and absolutely you will need to work on that because, based off of her numbers, you will see that she does not have room for $1,400 to spend on food and groceries. So you will definitely need to work on that and be really intentional about your food shopping. I have about $7,500 in my retirement fund. This is after the $3,600 loan I took out against it last year. I had $1,200 saved in a starter emergency fund, but spent it last week on new tires for my car. I regret letting the salesman talk me into it even though I needed them. I could have gotten used or a slightly less quality tire, but at the end of the day, my car drives so much better. I am sad to see that she pulled money out of her retirement fund. I think it's a 401k. She puts that in her spreadsheet. I would never advise anybody to do this unless it was a super dire situation. I would rather you go into credit card debt or get a personal loan or something of that sort instead of pulling out of your retirement, unless it's like a Roth IRA and you're using that to put a down payment on a house or something. But I'm sure at the time you did what was best for you. Also, she's only 26, so she will have time to recover from all of this, and hopefully we'll never have to do that again. And well, hopefully you just know not to do that again. Also, she had $1,200. Unfortunately, that's also gone. I know that you could have saved on your tires, but it's in the past. You're not the only one who has, fallen to what the salesperson is saying. They are salespeople after all. You do have to be more assertive, especially as women. You've got to try and be really assertive when it comes to things like cars and them trying to sell you stuff. I'm glad you recognize that, so maybe next time you can get a better deal. The amount of bad debt I have scares me, especially when I no longer have any cushion left. I'd like to know what you would do if you found yourself with such high debt like this. I considered trying to apply for bankruptcy a few months ago, but ultimately decided against even taking the first step because it felt so wrong. At the end of the day, I made this mess. Love that responsibility. Accountability, responsibility for your debt is great. So it's okay. I don't think you need to file bankruptcy, by the way. We'll get to her numbers, but right off the bat, don't need to file bankruptcy. If I utilize the debt snowball method, it would take me 8 to 9 years to pay everything off. My plan is to build a savings first. Initially, I was putting an additional $100 per month to debt and doing whatever with the excess, usually a mix of spending on food and helping my parents. But I can't do that anymore with my mom's health situation. Let me know if you have any advice on this or need any more context. Without going into too much detail, since she did not include it here, I have actually emailed with her before, and unfortunately her mom is going through a health situation, but they're also having to pay for in-home care for her mom as well. So you'll see some of that in her budget, and that's the context around that. First up, I'm going to show y'all the spreadsheets that she sent to me. So this first one that we're looking at, these are all of her debts. It looks like she sorted them from smallest to largest in each category. So like she said, she was looking into the snowball method. In the top section, this little pink section, this is all of her credit cards. Looks like about $17,890 of credit card debts. This is as of May 30th, by the way. Y'all can't see it, but there is a tab on here that says this was from May 30th, so she's probably made a little bit of progress, or at least, the minimum payments on all of these. So keep that in mind. But overall, lots of credit card debt, about $500 in minimum payments. The interest rates are also really, really high. I'm not sure if she has done this before, but something that I always recommend to my clients, if they have this amount of credit card debt, especially like having so many different cards, is to call every single one of them and ask if they can lower your interest rate. Now, it may not work. It could depend on the timing of things, like when you're calling. It also depends on how long you've been using that company. Like if you're a loyal customer, it depends on your history. Have you made any late payments with that company? But oftentimes they will lower your interest rate, and that can help you tremendously on your debt-free journey. I know that when I started my debt-free journey, this was of course several years ago, I called all of my credit card companies, and all of them except for one lowered the interest rate, and I had several cards that had debt. I know sometimes they're like, we're not offering anything right now. You could try to call us back next month or call us in 3 months. I suggest calling every 3 months or so. Even if, if they lower it right now, great. You can still call 3 months later and see if there's anything better. You can always try and ask if there's even something temporary, like, can I just get a lower rate for 6 months? This is something that you can actually try to negotiate with them and, share that you're having a hard time with your finances, explain your situation with your mom and that you're trying to better things. And, those are human beings on the phone too. So sometimes they will try to find a solution for you. So definitely recommend that as a first step. Just sit down one of these days and call every single one, see what they have to offer. And if they don't lower, that's fine. We still will have a solution. The blue section are her personal loans, including her car loan. She has about $34,000 of debt here. All across them is a minimum payment of $883, the bulk of that being her car loan. I hate to see that interest rate on a car loan, almost 11%. We'll talk about that in a bit. I also hate to see that minimum payment. Just like with all these other videos, car minimum payments are so expensive. I just really hate to see that. And I know these days it's just tough to get cars. Even if they're used, they're still expensive, and the minimum payments are just high. It's just how it is. But luckily here the rates are a little bit lower. She has a couple of loans that are, almost 29%, but luckily the balances are below $2,000 each. And then, yes, there is that 401k loan that she mentioned at 8%. And then finally, in this gray section, she has all of her student loans listed out. Almost $110,000 here, $661 in minimum payments. However, she's not paying that much right now because 2 of these are federal loans, which are still in forbearance and at 0% interest. And that will be ending in, end of August, beginning of September. And she probably won't have to make these payments until October. So we will talk about that. I hate to see the private loans. It's so unfortunate that a lot of this is private loans. 4% on those is not too bad, but 110 is a lot in student loan debt. She may have told me before, but if she did, I do not remember. what she does exactly for work. It sounds like obviously you went to school and got some sort of degree, so I'm wondering if you could potentially increase your income by seeking a different job. Unfortunately, student loans are often a huge problem for a lot of people, and it's unfortunate that we do pay so much for our education. I know for myself that when I first started going to school, I really didn't have any other option. Like, that was just what was expected of me as a teenager, you know, not only from my parents, but also society. It was like, you just go to school. Also, I did not have enough money to pay for school, nor did my parents. I didn't have a ton of scholarships coming in. So I did have to take out student loan debt. And that's the situation for many people. And when we're 17, 18 years old, we're not educated on student loans, we're not educated on finances, and oftentimes neither are our parents. So we take out all of this debt, and we're, you know, told that because we're going to college, we're going to get these amazing careers and be able to pay this off, no problem. Kind of going on a rant there, but yeah, just curious if you could maybe increase your income depending on what you did for your degree or degrees. So let's hop over to her budget that she sent me. This is for July 2023. And it looks like she breaks it down every paycheck. So she makes a budget for every paycheck. I did end up combining this into one, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But you can see that she takes home $2,472 per paycheck, which is pretty good, almost $5,000 each month. And she's paying a pretty decent amount for rent. That's not too bad, $1,315. She put the minimum balances for all of her debts into the both of these. It looks like for July, she is going to try and cut back on food and, you know, going out to eat as well as groceries. So it looks like for the first half, $175 in groceries and then $50 on eating out. Second half, same thing. So that's great. Definitely aim for that. In-home caregiver, so this is what I was talking about, looks like $240 twice a month. Of course, that is quite a bit of money, but that's her situation right now, and that's what she has to pay for. Car insurance, $100. Got the credit cards, car payment. Phone's a little bit high. I'm curious about this one. I wonder if she is paying for her parents, or maybe you're also financing a phone. I know iPhones are super expensive these days, so oftentimes people will pay for them monthly, and it takes like years to pay that off. So yeah, I'd be interested to know what that all entails. If this is just for you, definitely look into switching. Even if this isn't for you, I'm gonna plug Mint Mobile here. This video is not sponsored by Mint Mobile, but y'all know that I use Mint Mobile. I work with Mint Mobile on a regular basis, and you can get their unlimited plan for $30 a month. Actually, they have a deal right now where you can get half off. So you could get their unlimited plan for $15 a month. I'll have that link down below, as always. But yeah, depending on the situation, I would suggest looking into switching. Electricity, internet, and then subscriptions. Subscriptions aren't out of control or anything. So I don't see anything on here aside from the phone that really stands out to me as a problem. Okay, so 3 quick things that I suggest doing as soon as possible. The first one would be to call all of your credit card companies and ask for a lower interest rate. The second thing would be to try to come up with fast cash as much as you can. So this could be selling things. You may be able to find stuff on the side of the road, like free stuff that people look on, like Craigslist, or if you're in any like Facebook neighborhood groups, and people post on there all the time, like Curb Alert, and you can find free stuff, flip that and sell it yourself, or just go through your stuff. Just take a couple of hours, go through things, post them, eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, all the things. Try to make as much cash as you can. Something else I'm actually going to suggest for you, since it looks like you have a decent income coming in, is to sign up for a new checking account so that you can get a bonus. As of right now, me filming this, there's actually a promotion going on with Truist Bank. And if you sign up and set up direct deposit, I think you have to just get like $500 worth of direct deposit, or maybe $1,000, and then you get $400. I would suggest looking into something like that, where you earn a few $100s in exchange for a simple thing like that. Keep in mind with these offers that you typically need to keep the account open for about a year just to avoid any problems. And then during that year, you're going to probably need to maintain a certain amount of direct deposit going to that account each month to avoid the fee. Oftentimes you also have to pay taxes on those earnings, but it's nothing crazy. Since it's like $400, you're not going to be paying, tons in taxes. Just keep that in mind. But an extra $400 or $300, whatever you could find, would be really helpful for your situation. And the final quick thing is that phone plan. I don't know what all it entails, but you're potentially overpaying for a phone plan. So if you can make a switch, then I would suggest doing that. Okay, now we're gonna go to the spreadsheets that I put together for her. And this is all of the months for the rest of the year. And I put this into my style of budgeting. Y'all know I like to put everything for the full month. If you watch my monthly updates, you would see something similar to this. So I put in all of her expenses. Her income is $4,944. And then everything that she had listed on that sheet, I put here, including a breakdown of every single debt. So I wanted to make sure everything was as accurate as possible. Now, what I'm going to suggest, because you do not have any savings, and you mentioned that you would like to start with an emergency fund since you don't have that anymore, I recommend that as well. So I think for July, August, September, before the student loan payments resume, I want you to save about $300 per month toward your emergency fund. If you're able to do more, definitely do more. So if you end up making extra cash by selling things or opening that checking account that I was talking about, put that to your emergency fund until you get to at least $1,000. I do not think $1,000 is enough for you long term, but I do think that your credit card debt is an emergency in and of itself. So I want you to just get to 1,000 and then move on to putting extra to your debt. So for the next 3 months, just pay the minimums on all your debts and really focus on that emergency fund. And that's what I put in here. So with everything that you're paying for, you should be able to squeeze at least $300 July, August, September. And make sure you're putting this into your high yield savings account, preferably. I use Marcus by Goldman Sachs. You can use whatever you'd like, but make sure it's a good company that you trust. You may already have one. I don't know if you do, but right now they're earning pretty decent interest rates, so you can make a little bit of money in interest while you save as well. So obviously 300 times 3 only gets you to about $900, but I think in that time you should be able to come up with about 1,000. You may be able to get to that faster. As you can see on this sheet, if we subtract your expenses from your income, you still have an extra $50 cushion. But this is assuming that you are being like absolutely perfect with your spending, like only spending $100 on food out and $350 on groceries. So you'll really want to be super intentional about that spending so that you can get to paying extra to your debt faster. Now, we all know that student loans are coming back. The interest is going to start accruing on August 30th or September 1st, and that is fine. You do not need to make a payment until your first payment is due. For your situation, I don't want you to make a payment until you have to. So that's probably going to be October. If it's September, then fine, but I think it'll be October. So I did start adding that in. Let me go to the next 3 months. Here we have your private student loans. You've already been paying that. And then for October, I added in your federal student loans of about $306. That's what you said the minimum payment would be. I did combine them. I know there were different companies, but I combined them. Now, right now, what I would suggest you also do is log into your accounts and see if you can get on a different payment plan. You want that payment to be as low as possible. So 306 is not too bad based off of how much debt you actually have, but you may be able to lower your minimum payments, and that would help you out a little bit and allow you to put more money to your other debts. I still want you to just pay the minimum on your federal student loans and your private student loans. And the first debt that I think you should focus on is your Capital One 2. the Capital One credit card that you labeled as number 2. With the student loans, there are some changes that are happening where you do not have to make a payment for the first year. You are supposed to make a payment if you can, but if you don't make a payment, you will not have any negative effect, or at least that's what they're saying. I would keep an eye on that and not trust that 100% until for sure that's in place. I think a lot of people in your situation would do that. Like, they would not make a payment because they're not going to be punished for it. But if you put everything into your budget, you are able to afford it. So if you're able to make a payment, then I suggest you make that payment. You know, if it's $306, you should be fine. You should be able to afford that. If it's a little bit lower, even better. I did pop in all of your numbers into this debt snowball / avalanche tracker. If y'all are interested in this, I have this for sale on my Etsy shop. So first of all, up here, I put this starting month as June. I am filming this in July, but since she sent me those debt numbers from the end of May, I am pretty sure we can count this as starting in June. And I put everything on here in the order that I would pay them off if I was in this situation, excluding your federal student loans, because you actually had 2 different ones at 2 different interest rates. I wasn't able to fit it in here. It also would mess up your numbers because you don't have to make those payments for 3 months, so I didn't include that here. I'm going to start down here though. We already passed June, so I'm not sure what you did in regards to your debt or with your savings or anything. Hopefully you were able to save a little bit more. But like I said, July, August, September, I want you to put at least $300 to your emergency fund, and we're not going to put any extra to your debt. So the next 3 months, just the minimum payments on everything. And then come October, if we come back to this sheet, the minimum payment for this card, if I change this back to what it was, it's $25. So if we look at your expenses subtracted from your income, that leaves you with a little bit less than $50. So all that you really can do is put an additional $25 to your debt, which is fine. This is going to be a slow journey, but it will speed up in time. And I hope by looking at this that you can see that. So you're going to be putting $25 every single month, basically for the rest of your debt-free journey is what we're assuming, because once you pay off one debt, you also take that minimum payment, roll it into the next debt, as I'm sure you know. So you'll be making huge payments by within a few months to some of your cards and stuff. So yeah, here's the order that I think you should go in. It's not a perfect debt snowball or a perfect debt avalanche. I think it's helpful to do a little bit of a mix, just kind of a custom plan. I would say this Capital One card that has a low balance of $207. I typically would say just pay this off as soon as you can, like pay that off this month. But I want you to have that emergency fund first, just because you are living on your own and you have absolutely nothing saved. So I think you should focus on that. This credit card is actually your highest interest rate, but also your lowest balance. So that's perfect. The minimum payment isn't too high, but it will, help to roll that into the next one. So if you're saving for the next 3 months, but then putting in extra $25 from, for October, November, December, you should be able to pay off this Capital One card by the end of the year. So you'll have one card knocked off by the end of 2023. Like I said, this will be slow, but just wait. Next up, I put your Kohl's credit card. That's also a small balance, but a very high interest rate. Not the next highest or anything, but I would rather you just knock off as much as you can so you do free up some minimum payments to roll into the next one. So if we put that one next, you can pay off the Kohl's credit card 1 month later. So January 2024, 2 of your debts will be gone. And then yeah, kind of keeps going with that. So for the next one, I put credit one, number 1, and that's also a small balance, but a very high interest rate. So I put that one next because you can make some pretty quick progress. And then from there, it's kind of just a mix of things. So mostly focusing on the higher interest rate. I do prefer the debt avalanche method because it's going to help you to pay off your debt faster and save you money. The good thing is that these first few debts are not huge balances, so you can really kind of just roll through these for the next couple of years and then you'll get to the bigger guys and you'll have a lot more money to put to those, and plus you'll just be in a better situation. Now for this projection, I only have you putting an extra 25 to your debt. So it is going to take you a long time to even just get through these first 3. And then basically by the end of 2024, you should almost have your Best Buy card paid off. It's going to take you until at least January 2025, but that's fine. That does free up quite a bit of money. You can see you'll have, a bit over $100 to roll into the next debt. And by this point, I think you'll start to see your credit score increase. Now you did not share what your credit score is, but if it is, it's probably fairly low just based off of these numbers. So as of right now, you probably can't do anything to really benefit you. But I would say once you start seeing that number go up, maybe if you are in like the 720s, 750s for your FICO score, look into refinancing your auto loan. You may even be able to do a balance transfer. Definitely be careful about doing that. But it may benefit you for like this NC SECU credit. This is fairly high. You don't have to do that. I don't ever want to encourage somebody to do something that's going to put them in a confusing situation, or if they don't understand something, I don't recommend that. But if you can refinance the car loan, or if you can roll your debts into something else where you have a higher interest rate, maybe consolidate your loans, then I would look into that when your credit score increases. But all in all, if you follow this plan, then you will be debt-free, excluding your federal student loans, by January 2030. So that's about 7 years from now, which is a little bit faster than what you had projected. You had said 8 to 9 years. So of course, whenever I make these videos, nothing is perfect. These are predictions. This is assuming she is sticking to her budget that she sent me every single month. This is also, this spreadsheet is fairly accurate, but it's never 100% accurate just because certain debts have different, ways that interest accrues, and this is really best used as a tracker and a way to predict how quickly you can pay off your debt. But these numbers are never 100% accurate because that's just not possible unless you are, customizing this every single time. But it does give you a pretty good idea of where you can end up over the next few years. So if you can pay off this, $115,000 in 7 years, that's actually really great. It took me about 5 years to pay off $82,000. So that is basically the same thing, and that would be absolutely incredible. And then by the time you get to your federal student loan debt, that will be a little bit lower of a balance, and you should be able to knock that out fairly quickly. I know I kind of touched on it before, but if you can get your federal student loan minimum payment any lower, like, under 50 even, I don't know if that would be possible, but that would allow you to make faster progress on your other debts, and that would be really helpful. I still would recommend this plan though, so this order of paying down these debts. You may get to a point where, the interest rates change and you could swap things around if you wanted to. And like I said, if you are able to refinance the car or consolidate debt and get lower interest rates, things may move around, which would be perfect. Also, throughout the next few years, I would probably expect for you to have to start adding a little bit more to your emergency fund. But over the next few years, I would imagine that a few times in the year, you may come into some cash. So that could be your tax refund, it could be a bonus, it could be higher pay, anything like that. And you could add that to your emergency fund, which would be a good idea. I think you should continue to grow that, or put it to whichever debt you are focusing on at the time. I know that was probably a lot of information. Again, thank you so much for submitting your financial situation and sharing all of that with us. I'm not gonna lie and say that it's all rainbows and lilies and you are perfectly fine. Like, you are in a tough situation, and that's a lot of debt, and it sounds like you are recognizing that you have a problem in a couple of areas and are doing what you need to do to take control of that, which is amazing, and I encourage you to continue that. The journey of paying off debt is definitely a roller coaster, and I empathize with that. I absolutely know what that feels like, but you absolutely can get out of this You do not need to file bankruptcy or do anything crazy. Definitely try to avoid any further debt. Do what you need to do to avoid that. But over the next decade or so, you will definitely find yourself in a different financial situation. By that point, you can start investing heavily, and maybe by that point you're earning much, much more, and it will be much easier to make progress in your finances. So best of luck to you on your journey, and I hope this was helpful. To any of y'all watching this, please feel free to comment what you would suggest to this person, or if there's anything that I mentioned that you would change, or if you want to call that out, please feel free to do so, as long as it's friendly. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.